Concluse is a realised, playable version of a fictional, mysterious PlayStation 1 game featured in a YouTube series of the same name. Atmosphere. It's unlike anything I've ever encountered in a video game. It feels like David Lynch's Eraserhead. There's a feeling of barren nothingness and impending dread. It deliberately recommends you play it in a low resolution with a low frame rate, and with the lack of colours it feels like an art house film. It tells you about things you can't see and shows you things you don't understand. It embraces a surreal and seems to openly reject realism, stopping gameplay abruptly to write single lines of text explaining small and unsettling things and cutting out animations for stuff like climbing ladders, teleporting you straight to the top, which gives it a strong disconnect with the realistic immersion of other games, which is probably what it's going for. It's so weird, unnatural, and mysterious that it drew my attention immediately and didn't let go until I finished playing. Honestly, this is one of the most impressive atmospheres I've ever experienced in a game. That's one Harry Mason. Scares. There's only one or two points in the game where I was actually scared. It often pops up and says something is watching you, but you can't see what it is. It'll show you a lump of something on the floor and explain it's a human body, but it barely resembles anything human. Its strength is the fear of the unknown, impending and incomprehensible threats. It will play disturbing scenes of black, mutated figures bending and contorting into odd positions and letting out static screams which are very disturbing, and then it'll just cut straight back to the gameplay and leave you wondering what you just saw. There's no jump scares or fear of death, just a long feeling of drifting through purgatory in a land of evil beings. It's not scary in the traditional way. That's too Harry Mason. Sound design. Throughout the game there's a sound of wind blowing and low rumbling notes swell up and down, inflicting nothing but utter dread and the otherwise eerie nothingness. Sometimes picking up an item will play something that resembles a 50s horror film score, weird reverb and delay-soaked tones. The sound effects are all weird and spooky and I highly approve. That's 3 Harry Masons. Gore. The blood you see is really just black stains on the floor. There's piles of bodies that, due to the low-res style, look even more unnatural than you'd expect. It'll describe decapitated rats and show you a woman's ribcage with a key in it, but due to the lack of colour, it doesn't feel gory, it just feels strange. If blood was red and stood out, it would kill the tone. What you have instead is this abnormal, barely recognisable, grim scene that's unpleasant to behold. That's 4 Harry Masons.
3 years ago, my wife, Carolyn, disappeared without a trace. I followed every lead, but they all led to dead ends. After searching for years and coming up empty-handed, I gave up and thought I had moved on. Unfortunately, that couldn't have been further from the truth. Caroline, could you really be here, living in a place like this?
Story. The story is basically that of Silent Hill 2, with some lines of dialogue even being partial quotes. You are Michael, travelling to the town of Hell to find your missing wife, Carolyn. You arrive in Cordova, which is near Hell, and must make your way through it. There's lots of notes laying around, and some of them explain horrific transformations into the black figures seen in cutscenes. The story fades to the background because a lot of it is clearly not meant to be explained. Michael's story only crops up at the start and at the end, with the entire game being in the middle. The story is not the focus of the game, the gameplay is. The atmosphere and the experience is. I feel that assigning meaning and context to what you see detracts from what the game is. making the final score 5 out of 5 Harry Masons. This was such a surprise to me. I wasn't expecting this when I played it, having never seen the YouTube series. Honestly, this is a very niche but intriguing game that leads on to a sequel I can't wait to play. Again, I'd like to remind you this whole thing is down to my opinion on horror games. If you don't share this opinion, then that's cool, I get it. I'd like to point out that whilst I explored the town with a big smile on my face, I did not scream like a banshee or run away for the computer, and I advise you don't either. There'll be more horror reviews in the pipeline, and thanks for watching. And always go check out Bumps in the middle of the night. Peace.